Okay, guys, 2-minute drill time. And the topic of the day is Patrick Mahomes and a new contract. The question is, how much money or what percentage of the salary cap should Kansas City dedicate to their star quarterback?
I think there's no argument that Patrick Mahomes needs to be paid. He needs to be paid well, but no team has ever won a Super Bowl paying their quarterback more than 18% of their salary cap, okay? And so he's looking about $40 million a year. I know that's what that's what the going rate is now for top quarterbacks in our league, but that exceeds even 20% of the salary cap. So how much is it going to take to be able to keep a team around Patrick Mahomes? How much is it going to take to keep Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, Chris Jones on defense, and Tyrann Mathieu? No quarterback can win a championship by themselves. And so I just think that the quarterbacks need to understand that even Michael Jordan took less to have a team around him. Even Tom Brady for years took less to keep a championship team around him. So I think it's up to the quarterback and the team to strike a balance so you can still field the team around that talented quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at quarterbacks, Mahomes, Wilson, I mean, they're really the only guys that can elevate their team to the point where you're transferring the surplus of that rookie deal onto supporting cast players, after Tyreek Hill were to leave or after Travis Kelce or Sammy Watkins were to leave. But I do think Mahomes is worth it. The thing about it is it's probably not going to be over $40 million a year just because the Chiefs have the weapon that is, the franchise tag. One sneaky thing here that I think will help Kansas City more than it's helped other teams that have paid quarterbacks top-end deals is that Andy Reid is one of the best coaches in league history, and his salary is uncapped.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that no team has ever won a Super Bowl doing whatever. It strikes me as iffy methodology. The game even 10 years ago is like a different world to what it is now. So you're just dealing with tiny sample sizes that I don't know will ever lead you down the right path. And Mahomes has already shown that the defense around him can be pretty much terrible, and he can still get you basically as far as you need to go. I think he is a unique, transcendent talent that will drag almost anything around him right up to that championship level. Whether he'll win another big one is another matter. The Super Bowls are really hard to win, the Patriots notwithstanding, but he will get you competing for one every single year, almost regardless of who's around him, at which point I think 20% plus of the salary cap is a perfectly fair percentage for him to be taking.
I really totally disagree that you go north of 20%, you automatically are going to have to start cutting very good football players. And again, the quarterback is the most reliable or reliant position. They need help. They simply cannot get it done by themselves. But we'll move on to the second question because I think this is an interesting one. The most important player in the AFC North who's not named Lamar Jackson is who?
I'm going to go out and just say Joe Burrow, the number one overall pick in the 2020 draft. See, Cleveland's got, some talent that I think can overcome maybe some of Mayfield's, warts there. And in Pittsburgh, they have, one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the NFL. So even if Big Ben doesn't return to stardom, they'll probably be fine. The Bengals could be a competitor in the AFC with 7 playoff spots if Joe Burrow turns out to be the player that they think he is at 1-1. And if he's that this season, this might be one of the most entertaining divisions in football.
I think you could take a pick from any of the quarterbacks, honestly, but I'm going to go with Ben Roethlisberger because the Steelers need him to be back somewhere near his best for them to be competing with the Ravens, and that's no guarantee at all, even if he gets back healthy, because before he went down, he was playing badly. The first 2 games of last season, the grades were terrible. Even before that, his grade had dropped down to 78 from a position in the high 80s. If Roethlisberger doesn't bounce back to become a player that earns PFF grades in the 80s, in the high 80s again, I don't know the Steelers are good enough across the board to overcome that and still be a challenge for Baltimore.
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield because I still think Baker is a very talented quarterback. And I think now that he has a head coach in Kevin Stefanski who's going to put an offense around him that is going to allow him to be at his best. Some RPOs, some play action pass game. He's got the arm and the talent around him. I think the offensive system that he's going to be in and Kevin Stefanski's system really does play to his skill set. being able to drive the ball down the field into tight windows when coverage is well defined. I think he is a guy that can take his team and be able to compete with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, if Ben is healthy, then maybe Pittsburgh is part of that conversation. But I think with a much better coaching system in place in Cleveland, Baker Mayfield, I think his talent, his grades, and his overall productivity, I think it goes to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of new head coaches, Sam, which new head coach is going to be, sort of the most impactful, most important in 2020?
I think it's going to be Kevin Stefanski for the Browns for a lot of the reasons Solly has just outlined. Look, Baker Mayfield took a huge step back last season, and it was concerning the levels of play he reached and that all of his negatives were maximized. And every move the Browns have made this offseason has been about eliminating variables, about improving the situation around him. And Stefanski was part one of that. He comes in with an actual coherent offense that has a very defined approach, a way of playing that has gotten extremely good seasons out of quarterbacks and should play to Baker Mayfield's strengths. You bring in personnel to match that with getting a guy like Austin Hooper so you can run more of these two tight end sets. And, everything else they've done has been about shoring up everything around Baker Mayfield. So Stefanski coming in with that proven offense with a track record of getting quality play out of quarterbacks should see Baker Mayfield bounce back to the player he was before last year. And if they can get him back on that track, he should be the franchise quarterback that turns this team around the way they thought he was 12 months ago.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Mike McCarthy with the Dallas Cowboys for years with just average coaching that didn't leverage any of the analytics, any of the data. They were a borderline playoff team. And now Mike McCarthy comes in. He's a proven coach, okay? He's already won a Super Bowl in 13 seasons when he was in Green Bay. He took 9 of those teams to the playoffs. And so we know that the Dallas Cowboys have a roster that's loaded with talent. They've just been waiting for a coach to just show up who can at least move the needle somewhat forward. And certainly Mike McCarthy has a history of being able to improve the play at the quarterback position. I think he'll do that with Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is an ascending player as long as Mike McCarthy is there. Clearly, I think he makes the biggest difference of any of these new head coaches.
I agree with Solomon here. I think McCarthy is the most important because Dallas may still not have made the decision with respect to Prescott as what to do with his long-term deal. McCarthy might be the best way in which to evaluate him. So, yeah, give me Mike McCarthy.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.